Доброго дня, друзі. Починаємо наш брифінг.
Good afternoon, friends. We begin our briefing on refuting the fakes and propaganda of the aggressor state. Russia, using state-controlled propaganda resources, continues spreading the lie. This time they said that a transport plane with a large shipment of weapons from Western partners was allegedly shot down near Odesa. It is a lie. This was refuted not only by the Ukrainian authorities, but also by the US Pentagon. They said that there were no reports indicating that Western shipment of weapons had been shot down by the Russians. No plane was shot down. There is a very simple explanation for why Russia is throwing in these lies. First, to demotivate partners to provide weapons to Ukraine. They say, don't give it to Ukraine, it will be shot down, destroyed, etc. So there is no point in supporting Ukraine. But again, this information is false. The second fake says the following: Western weapons that have been transferred to Ukraine will eventually fall into the hands of the Russian army and will be used against Ukraine itself, so don't give weapons to Ukraine either. This is a fake as well. This information is completely made up. Another fake concerns statements by both representatives of the self-proclaimed terrorist organizations of the Luhansk and Donetsk so-called People's Republics and the Russian armed forces. They state that there are no civilians at the Azovstal plant. This is how they will justify their aggressive actions, bombing and attacking this enterprise, where in fact there are more than 1,000 Ukrainian civilians. So, first of all representative of the military command of the so-called Donetsk People's Republic, Basurin, stated on the air of Russia Today that there are no civilians there. He called the presence of civilians at Azovstal a Ukrainian fake. Then the Interdepartmental Coordination Headquarters of the Russian Armed Forces also stated that there were no civilians there. Kyiv's claims that there are a large number of civilians at Azovstal is an information throw-in invented solely to save the nationalists. This is stated on the Russian State Information Resource. These statements are false. Civilians who are there under the protection of the Ukrainian armed forces are really hiding in the basements of Azovstal. Any Russian actions claiming that there are no civilians will be used by Russia itself to justify its offensive aggressive campaign against the Ukrainian armed forces and the Ukrainian civilians at that enterprise. Meanwhile, using its information resources, the aggressor state throws in a fake that Ukraine, and in particular the State Security Service, is preparing a provocation in order to accuse the Russian military of the mass killing of civilians in the Odesa region. This was stated by the Russian Ministry of Defense. As in previous cases, in this one, we are dealing with a typical false flag operation. This is an operation in which Russia blames the Ukrainian authorities for its actions. They did it repeatedly. For example, in the case of the Bucha massacre, when they said that Ukrainians killed Ukrainians themselves, although the satellite images prove that this was done when the town was under Russian occupation. They did the same with the Malaysian Boeing, claiming that dead passengers had been put on the plane. They did the same with the rocket attack on the Kramatorsk station, saying again that it was the Ukrainians themselves who were killing the Ukrainians. That's how they are doing it now. There is no credibility to these words. By such actions, Russia simply justifies its aggressive behavior and the killing of civilians in Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia itself does not want the truth about how their crimes were committed. In particular, Russia's Goskomnadzor has restricted access to the website of the human rights organization Human Rights Watch for allegedly inaccurate information about the cause of a special operation in Ukraine, claims the Russian state. This was reported by the Russian state agency Russia Today. What was Human Rights Watch wrong in Russia's opinion? That it was reporting the truth about the massacre in Bucha. Let me remind you that Russian troops had just been withdrawn from Bucha, and after the bodies of murdered Ukrainian civilians were found, then Human Rights Watch issued a statement reporting that Russia was responsible for the killings, citing evidence and interviews with local people about how Russia had committed this atrocity. Now, Human Rights Watch is banned on the territory of Russia. It is because of their desire to tell the truth and not to serve the aggressor state. Another fake concerns the fact that Alexei Arestovich, advisor to the head of the office of the president, was allegedly fired from his position. This fake is spreading through Russian anonymous Telegram channels. It is not true. Moreover, Alexei Arestovich had a briefing here today on this very press point in the same status, so don't believe the Russian state propagandists. Well, another warning worth noting on this press point is a statement released by the Russian state news agency RIA Novosti, citing the Russian Ministry of Defense. I quote, "According to available information, the Kiev regime, with the support of the West, is completing preparations for horrible provocations with numerous victims in the Zaporizhzhia, Mykolayiv, Odesa, Sumy and Kharkiv regions. For this purpose, more than 70 mobile groups of nationalist battalions have been formed, with vehicles equipped with mortars, for the task to shoot at the Orthodox cathedrals and churches on Easter night. I warn you and assert again, this is the typical pattern of behavior of the Russian Federation, to blame others for what they are going to do themselves. Therefore, Ukraine has no intention to commit any such actions in those or other areas to kill civilians, moreover on Easter night. All responsibility for these actions, if they occur, will be laid precisely on Russia." This briefing is finished. Thank you for your attention. Please trust the Ukrainian armed forces, the Ukrainian political leadership and the Ukrainian media. Do not believe the liars from the aggressive state. Everything will be fine. See you.
Українським засобам масової інформації. Не вірте брехунам від держави-агресора. Все буде добре. До зустрічі.